Have you ever felt like your spiritual life and financial decisions exist in two separate worlds? That's the number one mistake I see Christians make, praying for abundance while operating with a scarcity mindset, holding tightly to what they already have. Today I'm showing you how to bridge that gap using wisdom from Proverbs 11:24-25, which reveals the paradox that giving leads to receiving. You'll see how giving strategically, even when it feels scary, can unlock financial doors you've been trying to kick down for years. This isn't prosperity gospel. It's practical application of biblical principles that work in today's economy. Ready to transform your relationship with money? Let's dive in. Have you ever felt like you're working harder and harder, but your bank account isn't growing? I was stuck in that exact same place 5 years ago. No matter how many hours I put in, my financial situation was like a hamster wheel, lots of motion but going nowhere fast. Then something unexpected happened. I was at my lowest point financially, exactly $546 in my checking account, credit card debt piling up, and rent due in 2 weeks. That morning, feeling completely defeated, I sat at my kitchen table and randomly opened my Bible, something I hadn't done in months. My fingers trembled slightly as I landed on Proverbs 11:24-25. The words jumped off the page. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give, and only suffers want. I actually laughed out loud. Give freely? When I barely had enough to cover my own expenses. It seemed completely backward, like pouring out water from your canteen, while stranded in a desert. My mind raced with objections. This doesn't make any practical sense, I thought. If I have little and give some away, I'll just have even less. That's basic math. This principle directly contradicted everything my survival instincts were screaming. When we're struggling financially, our natural response is to grip tighter, to protect what little we have. But something about those words wouldn't leave me alone. They challenged the scarcity mindset I'd operated from my entire adult life. With my heart pounding, I made a decision that felt both terrifying and strangely freeing. Despite having only $546 to my name, I withdrew $100 and gave it to a struggling single mom from my apartment building who'd recently lost her job. What happened next still amazes me. Within a week, an old client reached out with a project worth $750. Then my boss called me into his office. I was sure it was for layoffs, but instead offered me a promotion I didn't know was available. By month's end, I'd made 3 new professional connections that later became crucial to my career growth. The amazing part? My bank account had more money after 30 days than when I started. It was like unclogging a drain. Suddenly resources began to flow again. This isn't just some feel-good idea. Research shows that acts of generosity activate reward pathways in our brains, reduce stress hormones, and improve decision-making abilities. When we give, we literally rewire our brains to function better. What I discovered is this hidden wealth principle. Generosity creates a positive cycle that attracts more resources into your life. It shifts your mindset from scarcity to abundance, making you more alert to opportunities, more attractive to other generous people, and more likely to take positive risks. That shift from scarcity to abundance isn't just happening in my life. It's a pattern I've now seen repeated in person after person. What would you do if you were $30,000 in debt as a single parent? Most financial experts would tell you to cut all unnecessary spending, but Sarah did the exact opposite, and her story might just change how you think about money forever. Sarah was drowning in debt, a single mom with $30,000 hanging over her head and bill collectors calling constantly. Her heart raced with fear each time the phone rang. But when her neighbor lost their job and couldn't afford groceries, something inside Sarah wouldn't let her look away. Despite every logical reason not to, she committed to giving 10% of her income to help this family through their crisis. Can you imagine making that choice? Every financial advisor would have called her crazy. But within months, something extraordinary happened. Unexpected opportunities began opening up. A promotion she wasn't even being considered for suddenly landed in her lap. An old debt was forgiven. The constant anxiety that had gnawed at her stomach began to dissolve as her finances transformed. This perfectly illustrates Proverbs 22:9. The generous will themselves be blessed, for they share their food with the poor. When Sarah opened her hand despite her circumstances, blessing flowed back in unexpected ways. Michael's story reveals another dimension of strategic generosity. He was desperately launching his business, working endless hours just to survive. Instead of hoarding every minute, he volunteered his professional skills on weekends. His friends thought he was sabotaging himself. The amazing part? Those volunteer connections became his biggest clients. The skills he sharpened while helping others made him more valuable. Within 6 months, his business was thriving. As Proverbs reminds us, whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. Then there's Jessica and David, whose experiment in generosity transformed their finances. This young couple calculated grocery costs down to the penny, yet began leaving small amounts of money in public places for strangers to find. $5 in a library book, 10 on a park bench with an encouraging note. Their small acts were like planting seeds that grew into a forest of connection. They found themselves with new job opportunities, affordable housing, and financial breathing room they hadn't experienced before. What these stories reveal is profound. Generosity creates an expansive energy that accelerates positive flow in your life. It's the perfect antidote to the scarcity mindset that keeps so many stuck. When you hold on tightly out of fear, there won't be enough. You block the natural cycle of abundance God designed. It's like trying to hold river water in your clenched fist. The tighter you squeeze, the less you can actually keep. But when you open your hands to give, you become a channel through which abundance can continuously flow. Opening your hands to give is one thing, but knowing exactly how and where to direct that generosity, that's where most people get stuck. What if I told you there's a strategic framework for generosity that could transform your financial reality in 2025's economy? And it has nothing to do with random acts of kindness or emotional giving. Let me be real with you for a second. When most people hear "be generous," they immediately picture their hard-earned money disappearing with no return. I get it. With today's economic pressures, the fear of being taken advantage of or giving unwisely is completely valid. You're probably thinking, I barely have enough for myself. How can I possibly give to others? That's exactly where strategic generosity comes in. Strategic generosity isn't about emptying your bank account on a whim. It's about intentionally directing your resources, whether that's money, time, or skills, in ways that align with both your values and God's principles. This approach transforms giving from a dreaded obligation into a powerful financial strategy. Let me walk you through this 3-part framework that's changing lives in 2025. First, it starts with prayerful discernment. This isn't randomly picking a charity. It's taking time to consider where your contribution will have the most meaningful impact. Which causes align with your deepest values? When you give with this intentionality, something powerful happens in your spirit. Second, implement percentage-based giving that grows over time. Think in percentages rather than dollar amounts. Maybe start with just 1% of your income and gradually increase it. This creates sustainable giving that grows alongside your abundance. Third, and this is where most people miss out, purposefully document results. Track the impact of your giving to reinforce the positive cycle. You'll see tangible evidence of how generosity creates unexpected opportunities in your life. Feeling nervous about getting started? Begin with micro-generosity experiments. Small, low-risk acts of giving. Have you ever paid for a stranger's coffee? These tiny acts create ripples of joy that far outweigh their monetary value. In 2025's economy, we have more creative ways to practice generosity than ever. Digital platforms make it easy to support causes with just a few dollars. Skill-sharing communities let you offer your expertise to others who couldn't otherwise afford it. The biggest obstacle isn't financial, it's psychological. Those nagging fears of scarcity, those doubts about whether giving makes a difference, these are the real barriers. Overcoming them starts with recognizing these limiting beliefs. Are you ready to put this to the test? Take on the 30-day generosity challenge. For just 1 month, commit to a small act of giving every day. I've seen thousands experience unexpected financial breakthroughs within 6 months of this challenge. Here's the thing about generosity. It's not just about your wallet, it's about what happens in your heart. When you give, something shifts inside you. Studies show generosity boosts mental health and reduces stress. Mother Teresa wisely said, "It's not how much we give, but how much love we put into giving. This captures the essence of true abundance. Heart intentions over dollar signs. Can you imagine transforming your relationship with money in just 30 days? That's what happens with the Generosity Challenge. People don't just see changes in their finances. They experience a complete perspective shift. Start today with something small. What if each act of giving painted your future of abundance? Your heart will change first, and that's where the real transformation begins. Stay blessed, my friends.